I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy and the other fucking guy in the room right over there, making it all happen 3 times a week and more, because he just dropped some other videos, some other shorts that are really good. But the interview with but the interview with Dawn, the second interview is up as well. And the guy that makes it all happen is Leo. Leo, good morning to you,
Good
man.
morning, Troy. How you doing today, man?
I am doing all right. I just wish, and I can wish all I want, but it's not going to happen. Life isn't going to slow down, and it's not going to get easier. But dang, man, shit's moving fast right now, man. It'll be, what are we, like 2 weeks? Oh, just touch 2 weeks, Christmas?
Yeah,
We're pretty darn close to that.
No, we're right around the corner to Christmas.
Yeah,
2 weeks exactly.
for
Until
sure.
Christmas Eve.
For sure. So I was listening to PBD, which I usually do in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as well. That's when they do their live broadcast. And they're in Florida, so they start, obviously earlier. Their 9 o'clock and our 9 o'clock are two different things. But been talking about something Trump has been at least acknowledging. He called it a hoax, but talking about affordability, and I do want to talk about it in a couple of different ways. I want to talk about affordability in one way of there's just this belief that I have that we can only control what we can control, and what we can control is ourselves. And we can't always control or count on the government to take care of us, to do things, and you shouldn't count on the government to do those things. If you give people a choice, hey, do you want the government to do this for you, or do you want to do it for yourself? In way too many cases, at least it may only be a slight majority, but a majority seem to be they don't want to deal with it. They want the government to take it. They want the government to do it for them. And that's been something that's been predominant for quite a while. And you know how politicians feed that is by buying your vote. Oh yeah, here, let me make it easier for you. That loan that you got, we're gonna wipe it away. And a lot of older people like, well, that's not cool. They made the decision. It's a little bit more, the real issue is a little bit more nuanced than that, because the people who are giving away or wanting to give away or forgive the debt of these young people, like for college and such, are the same people that created the problem in the first place. And it's been a major problem. It's been a big problem when they involve the government, because the government's not good at doing this stuff. They're not as good as the private sector. They're making and guaranteeing loans that the private sector would never make. The private sector is going to factor in, well, okay, you want this loan for school. What is it? What degree are you getting? And they're going to come back and tell you, this is going to be a struggle for you. That we think that your ability to pay us back is not going to be all that good, because the thing that you're studying for doesn't pay very well. And you might want to find a different way, to do get your degree, or think about doing something else. And I don't know if people really look at those options. I think people that struggle sometimes, or people that have struggled or are lower on the economic scale, will consider these things. Like, it was a big deal when Owens, which was a community college back in the Toledo area, when they became accredited in such a way that their first 2 years of credits could be transferred to universities like the University of Toledo. And it was, it made the cost and the expenses much, much cheaper. We good? We're okay, we're good. However it works, man, we'll make it work in here. And then you go to the university for the final 2 years, and it everybody doesn't get to have the college experience of being on campus and rah rah and doing the other things. That's not really the most important thing, or shouldn't be. But you have, with the way these college loans are done, and because of the way that the government backs them and that kind of thing, that it just throws everything off, and that makes a big, big difference in what kind of bill you end up with down the road. All right, so there's things like that, and so I'm just not a fan of relying on or expecting the government to deal with our problems, and a lot of the problems we deal with are problems they created. They created the problem. And the universities, once somebody starts getting your money, they don't want that to stop. So when something's not working, it's really, really hard to get things changed, or to say, hey, we need this way of doing it's not working. We need to try something different, because the monster just wants to feed on whatever you give it, and it wants to become bigger. And government is like that. And Republicans used to stand for smaller government. I don't know that they do anymore. I know President Trump has tried to shrink the size by, eliminating some departments or eliminating some people. But I don't, what kind of dent has it made? I mean, I liked the whole idea of it, but there was just such a fight and such a backlash that it was just got to be the point of ridiculous. But anyway, so I was listening to PBD talk about this affordability and the guests that he had on his show, and Dan Pena was one of the guests. He's always fun to watch because that guy is just brutal. He's just brutal, cold-blooded dude that just spits it like it is, and he does not hold back at all. So I kind of love that. Obviously, that's kind of my thing. So, but there's one younger guy on the panel. I'd probably guess he's maybe right around 30 or so, but there's really not like anybody there to get a young person's perspective. And I have that young person's perspective sitting right next to me. So we did a little bit the other day chatting back and forth. And so, if you don't mind, Leo, I'd like to have a little bit of a conversation like this. Now, here, let me set the premise up for you, Leo.
Okay.
You are doing, at least I believe, maybe you have friends that are doing as much as you are, but from what I see of young people, and I'm talking 18 to 29 now, that to me, what you're doing by doing extra, by doing more, and I mean more than just 40 hours a week kind of a thing, and the ability that you had, even before we started working together, you had bought this house and things like that. And that's what we hear now, is that young people are struggling to find jobs, and they're then also that, housing is not affordable. And what I do see is a lot of young people moving in together, like the TV show Friends used to be,
Yeah.
And I get that in New York because it's so expensive in New York. But groups or even couples, I think I've, yeah, just you might get as many as 3 or 4 different people or couples living in one house together, and to be able to split the rent and have a nice place that being able to do that on their own, we're seeing less and less. and then the housing even more so. But not just yourself, but amongst your friends, and you don't have to mention any names or anything like that. But when you get together with your friends and you guys talk, do you guys talk or share about, financial struggles or how things are or anything like that?
Not really. To be honest with you, my friends really we've always just kind of it is what it is. Every once in a while, we'll talk about this or that, but for the most part,
No?
not necessarily a thing.
Okay.
At least in my friend group.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
just
okay. All you
never
can
really
talk about
been.
is your own experience.
Yeah.
Uh,
But to talk about what you were saying earlier, yeah, it's a very common, or at least here in Arizona, it's a very common thing to get 3, 4, 5 people together and then just rent out or buy a
yeah.
bigger home and just pay it off like per room or however whoever gets the bigger room gets to pay more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah, and but that seems like that's not just an Arizona thing. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's a big thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
What from your own perspective or your friends, what your house is that your number one expense? Is your biggest expense?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
And then after that, is it food? Is it car insurance or health insurance? What's next big
Probably
expense?
the editing programs and software and stuff like that. I pay like over like $200 in like programs and software a month.
Yeah.
That's probably my second most.
Well, you probably spend more than that in food, though. What do you spend in
I don't
food a
know.
month?
I really don't.
You don't track
I
it?
don't track the amount of money I spend on food. Plus I'm also very I'm like a big portion person because like it's
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know my mom cooks occasionally, so I'll just go over to my mom's and she'll send me home with Tupperware of food. So like food for me
Right.
hasn't been like a huge deal, especially because I'm very particular about what I'll buy. Like I'll compare like well like I can get this much food for this much money, or if I go over here I can get this much food for this much
Mm-hmm.
money. Um, and I usually buy portions to where it will last me. I'll get like a leftover portion basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll spend like if I'm doing quick math, probably around like a hundred to 150 a week.
Okay.
And that's depending on if I
No,
go
that's
pick up
fair.
food from my mom and stuff like that. So yeah,
No,
I
that's
mean
pretty fair.
about 600 a month.
That's
So
pretty fair.
so probably yeah, food.
Uh,
I just don't really think about it like that when it comes to food because I don't go grocery shopping all at once. I kind of just like what I go pick up what I need when I need it.
well, the thing is, especially if you're buying whole foods or fresh foods,
I have
you,
not.
yeah. Well, for me, you have to go that often because the quality isn't there and it doesn't stay fresh long enough that you can't buy that much extra. I used to buy 2 or 3 tubs of strawberries and they would keep for a minute. And now we buy one and we might go through it in a day. We might go through it in 3 days, but we're just going to go back and buy another one other than throwing it out and wasting it because that was happening because even something you just brought home, when you change the tubs and you're checking it through the whole thing, you're like, man, about 15-20% of this that I just bought and I'm putting in my refrigerator,
It's going straight to the trash.
it's garbage. It's garbage. And who has time to go back to the store and complain or anything like that? I don't. And then Dawn, we like the Fairlife milk. And man, Dawn has had a hard time finding that at Fry's.
Mhm.
They've been out of, the white milk for like 2 weeks. She did find it at Winco. And that was our first time in
Nice.
Winco.
I
We
love
haven't been
Winco.
in
I love
Winco.
Winco.
And I didn't even know they
built that
carried
new
it.
one right down the street.
Yeah, yeah. She went there finally because she was just fed up with not being able to find, this. But
Specific.
and it just seems like since COVID, we had a lot of bare shelves during COVID, and to some degree that's been fixed, but we're still not anywhere close to what it was pre-COVID.
Yeah, but I think a lot of rules have changed. I don't think we're gonna get back to because I think a lot of companies and manufacturers have realized that the way they're doing it now is probably more beneficial to them. Because I think there was a lot of waste. I think I was reading something where there was just way too much waste that companies were taking, and then after COVID, after the changes they had to make, has actually improved those numbers for them. So I don't think they will go back to stuffing the
Well,
shelves with like.
I'm no, but when your shelf is empty, when that is empty, they do get that feedback, and when that shelf is consistently emptying out and selling, you ought to say, okay, we're selling this out this quickly.
Mhm.
We need to increase the inventory by 10%. I'm not saying increase, just loading it up and not
Yeah,
doing any numbers,
but
but
giving it more. I don't know if it was a specific brand or
mhm.
product. Maybe it's not all the products, but there was a specific brand or product that was on purposely not filling up the shelves because it gives off the obviously like the supply demand kind of look.
Like a Rolex.
Yeah. Again, like I forget if it was like a very specific brand or product,
Uh-huh.
but I do remember reading something like that like post COVID, like
Uh-huh.
marketing basically like the way they would fill shelves up has changed
Right.
because of COVID, and it's worked.
That's
On
interesting.
again, I could be wrong. It could have been a very specific brand or
No,
product,
yeah,
but I
but
do
it's
remember
just
reading
yeah,
something like that.
but it's just it has been that way since, and so I feel that struggle. So there's been a shift. A lot of young people got involved for the first time this past election, more than have in a very, very long time. And now that same group of young people, um, they seem, to, I don't know, any other way to put it than that's the group that Trump is losing right now. That's the group that he got. And he got more young people in that 18 to 29-year-old age group than any Republican had in like a very, very, very long time, I guess. But that same group, that's the ones that are being appealed to with this affordability. And I'm just trying to get more of a perspective of not just the old guy sitting over here.
The reason a lot of people voted for Trump the second time around was because he was saying that a lot of people were upset of how much it was costing to live in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing of the Trump administration was we're going to lower those numbers. It's going to be more affordable and stuff like that. And over this time, it hasn't happened. So that's why you're seeing a lot of those like people flipping and being like,
Mhm.
all right, well, if you're not going to give us what you promised, then we're just going to take our free shit.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And the numbers that I've seen are that for the average was that prices like per household or whatever, costs went up $3,000, let's say, a year.
Mhm.
And what Trump has been able to do is only erase $1,000 of that 3,000. And so it still seems it's still close enough to as bad as it was that it doesn't seem like things are improving.
Correct.
Although they're starting to turn, but it's like, turning a boat is different than turning a lot of other types of transportation, right?
Yeah, but especially at the
ship.
younger age, like I mean, like they expect stuff like this to happen within the year, or
Yeah.
or at least because a lot of people also don't, especially at that age, we're not sitting here reading into these politics. Is it like to a lot of people, it's really nonsense. So like a lot of it, if it doesn't happen quick enough, like a lot of people just they're not gonna care to stick around.
Right. And I don't think it's messaging so much as that there's no message or has been no message. And because that was the big thing that you just outlined for the younger people and what they see, even though there have been some gains or some things slightly turning around, what they hear and see every day is immigration. We're bombing boats from Venezuela, Iran, uh, Israel and Palestine, Palestinians, Ukraine, all these international things. And they don't see or hear as much being talked about. Okay, this was America first. Why are we focused on all these international things and not focused on where we're at?
I think
at
the other
here?
thing that that a lot of people don't take into account is a lot of the younger generations are from immigrants. Like whether that be, yeah, a lot of them were born in the U.S., but a lot of those people, a lot of those younger people are immigrants. So it's hard for a lot of those people to keep the mindset of
Hmm.
America first when their people, their culture, and stuff like that
Hmm.
aren't in America. So they have to support inside the U.S. those outside kind of things. I think that's like a big thing, especially because like in America, there, or at least nowadays, there is no set like America, right? Like
Hmm.
there's so much division, there's so much left, there's so much right. There
Yeah,
there is no
yeah.
such thing as
There's
an America, right? So
no.
why would you want to support an America that is there's not even set up, right? So you're gonna want to support your culture, where you come from, and stuff like that, much more than you are gonna care for obviously the U.S. that can't seem to get their shit together. So
Yeah, no. Is there something we can do for table noise, but keep your microphone where it is? Does that
yeah,
make
I'll
sense?
just have to speak a little louder. Yeah,
Okay.
I just don't like speaking so loud. Strange.
Well, you're doing fine.
Yeah, because it was so
I
loud.
appreciate it.
It should be good.
That'll be good. All right, cool. Um, yeah, I just still wonder, like, because I felt this way, is that w- we need to talk about the issues here and not just taking all the shit abroad. And it's not that those weren't important issues, but it just seems like the everyday issues, which is how people vote, is on everyday issues. It's about the economy, stupid. No matter every election, it's about the economy, stupid. That it just feels like enough is not being done. And if you start to think about, well, what can be done? Well, some of the things that need to be done, like you mentioned, people are looking for quick answers. And housing, for example, there's no quick answer for housing. The only thing that can help housing a little bit is maybe lowering of interest rates, but lowering of interest rates is not really going to create more supply, and that's an issue, is that there's not enough supply. And just like in California, where we had these terrible fires, they're not even rebuilding that shit there because of the whole process that it takes to do that there. It's just terrible. And then when you factor in insurance and the insurance companies too, it's just a mess. And I think, there's a lot of people that don't want things to be rebuilt there. So that
Especially in
makes it even, and
California.
especially in California, which makes it even worse. So having that supply in places like that is just not happening. And to create an environment, it'll take a while for the government to change, or get government to change to with regulations and permitting and all that kind of stuff, to make land available to be able to build. Now, we don't really have that I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't seem like we have that as a huge problem here in Arizona.
We're building too many houses is our issue. We got too many people coming from different states coming into, like, y'all need to stay in your state, man. Y'all taking up way too much of our space. That is crazy. Where traffic's awful. There's been like 4 or 5 car accidents within the past week. People dying. Like, it's bad. Snowbirds need to stay in their state. Jesus Christ.
Well, I saw something the other day
Jesus.
about Queen Creek,
It's awful.
that
Way too many
in the
people.
early 2000s, when Queen Creek was basically,
Desert.
yeah, there was about 4,000 people, which is just about double the size of my hometown of 2,200 people. So very, very small. And now we're at 25 years later, we are at 84,000 people. And that's a good size number, man.
Yeah, but they built Queen Creek incorrect. Queen Creek and Santan, they just built it incorrectly. They could have done. This could have been such a like promising city and area, but Like it's nice from the
Mhm.
outside, but when you're actually living in the area, traveling around, it is one of the most frustrating cities to drive around and
Yeah,
just
I'm
be a
glad
part
I
of.
don't have to do
It
that
is fucking
and deal with
obnoxious. It's
that.
getting worse in Phoenix, and Phoenix is like one of my worst places. I hate going into Phoenix. Like Phoenix, I don't like. I know you love going to Scottsdale. I hate the Phoenix Scottsdale traffic. That shit pisses me off. That shit pisses me off.
Well, I also am old and have a perspective of, what it's like different places. And,
Well, I've lived here my entire life.
yeah,
Y'all need us.
as bad as it is here, like Atlanta is way worse.
Yeah,
LA is way worse.
but they got their own issues going on over there.
Yeah,
They fucked
that's
up
true.
the highways up over there.
Yeah, we do have, I mean, comparatively,
Mhm.
we do have better than most of those areas. We do. One of the things that I keep coming back to over and over again
Mhm.
is why aren't we using AI now to control traffic and traffic lights?
Because even Waymo cars have done nothing but cause accidents. AI has not done. I mean, overall, they've
No,
done a
but
pretty good
what
job.
good is it? I mean, there was a lot of a couple times yesterday when Dawn and I were out and about
Mhm.
where we seem to be sitting at a light and everybody's just sitting at the light and nobody is going. That whatever turned green, those people went through, and now we're still waiting for the light to turn. And there's no more cars coming from that direction. That's what I mean. Using AI to say, hey, I can switch it now. I instead of these cars idling, sitting here,
Mhm.
creating pollution, how about we move them along and make that shift a little sooner? So that sometimes if there is a lot of traffic, yeah, it might take you 2 minutes at a light. But other times when the traffic is light, it can run that same circuit in a minute.
I think it's supposed. I think it's supposed to be like that, but our sensors are just fucking shit.
I don't even know if we have sensors like that.
I think some of those lights are run off of.
But I think we should have that technology, is what I'm saying.
I think they do use it. I think it's just shit.
Well, we need to. Okay, then it's not working. We need to find
'Cause
something
I'm
that
pretty
works. I think that would be helpful.
If
for
I
sure.
remember correctly, they have two ways of or three ways of setting it off. They have one sensor for emergency vehicles. So
Mhm.
depending on like the lights they flash, it'll trigger the sensors for them to turn whatever color they need them to turn. There is the timer thing, so they have like data over months and years or whatever.
Right.
That will kind of time it depending on the time of day.
Mhm.
And then the last one is weighted sensors, like under the actual road itself would have a sensor of a car.
Okay.
Because I know in the streets that I grew up, there's one street on University and Apache Trail that is all weight censored. So depending on like when your car comes up to the light, the sensor will pick it up.
Mhm.
I rode a motorcycle for a few years and it would never pick because it was so light. So
Yeah.
I would have to run every red light and just hope
Yeah.
I didn't get fucking caught.
Yeah, no, I know that about motorcycles. I've experienced that as well.
Yeah.
That sometimes it just doesn't pick up or skips you, just totally skips you. I've had that before too. And then if it does go through a whole cycle like that, it is kind of legal if you take precautions to like go.
Yep.
There is
Mhm.
there is that as a part of that. But getting back to the issue, housing is I think it's just limited. And like you said, when, more and more apartments for sure, especially here, which creates more traffic and, the areas that we're in, and it's a desirable area. That's the other reason that you have that. And the thing is that you mentioned about not planning properly, and this was supposed to be the 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 best of planning, right? The best that they know how to do, pre-planning a whole,
There's people that get paid
city.
to do that.
Yes.
And they do an awful job.
Okay,
Oh,
Siri,
man.
chill the fuck out, bitch. We are not asking for your help.
I'm curious, how much do they get paid?
City planners? Is that what would you? People who plan cities from scratch or something?
Okay. 60 to 90,000 annually.
which isn't a lot.
Good, because they did a horrible job.
Well, they might need to pay somebody more and get somebody better. I don't know.
Please. I mean, they already fucked up. Fucking
Right.
Santan, so I mean, how much?
So that's one thing is, what can they do about that? Another expense is automobiles. New cars now, they just became the highest amount. The average cost of a new car now just became $50,000. And I remember not that many years ago when people thought 50,000 was, man, you're really driving a car. You're dropping 50 grand. And now that's the average price, and it's the highest average price for a car that it's ever been. And that has a little bit to do with regulations too. But again, how quickly are they able to turn that around to make that easier? Honestly, I don't know. So it's some of these things that need to be done, and I don't think it was articulated that well. And people do expect answers today. And my answer is always it's a different kind of hard today for young people. And you got to do whatever that hard is. And some people are willing to do it and some people aren't, but that's the only thing you have control of. You don't have control of these other factors. But I am trying to think, one of the areas that they've been able to make maybe the biggest dent so far is in some forms of energy. Now, the part where we're having an issue is electric, because we have these data centers going in that are taking up so much electricity that people in those surrounding areas, their bills are going through the roof. And something absolutely has to be done with that. But in regards to gas and natural gas and, other types, so for heating your home with gas, and gasoline itself, that we've been able to have a pretty good turnaround on and seen improvement. That gas prices now for this month are the lowest that they've been since the end of Trump's first administration. So and then that also factors into food and everything else, right? The transportation costs of goods. And it's one of the quickest ways to put money back in people's pocket, but it's only put a portion of that money back in people's pockets. And people were lied to when they were told that incomes were going up during the Biden administration. They not only didn't go up, they didn't keep pace in even any relatively close way. And that had been happening. The biggest increases in income were happening during the Trump administration. And so getting that back on track to be able to do that again, I think is needs to be a focus of what they can do there to be able to do that. Because, if you can't get the expenses down to make people feel better about the expenses, you have to find a legitimate way that doesn't harm the economy to get people's incomes to go up. And not just by getting another job, which is, and definitely an option and should be. And that's just life being hard. I don't know if we've prepared our young people well enough to expect, that type of hard early in life. And just when you set the wrong expectations about anything for anyone, and then it doesn't happen, they're going to be disappointed. They're not going to be happy with what's going on. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. And another good point that was brought up, I forget the guy's name. He just fills in sometimes on PBD's podcast, but he was the younger guy around 30 or so. They kind of made the point that there's some very smart people around Trump, but those very smart people around Trump are also people who have done very, very well. Like Scott Bessent is a billionaire. Okay, Scott Bessent is a genius. Okay, but they're older, they're well established, and there's nothing wrong with that. But who does he have around him that can give him like a little bit more of the pulse of what's going on with young people? And the one person who could have done that is no longer with us, because the one person that talked to them on a regular basis was Charlie Kirk. And we don't have anybody doing that anymore, not like Charlie did. But Charlie was, I think, valuable for that, because he was able to, I really believe he was responsible for getting that vote to turn to Trump in the first place. And now that he's gone, we're seeing the repercussions of that. But it does make sense that, even for me, being older, I can give my experience of what things were like to go through different things. But, I like having Leo here to give me that experience, because he's living it right now. So it's what's true for him right now. And, everybody has a different truth, and you have to talk to different people. Fine. So that just means that Trump doesn't need just one younger person. He needs a small group of younger people with, different takes, different backgrounds, different ways that they've come up, made things work, to kind of give him an idea or a better feel for how to relate to people that you're not relating to right now. And I don't know, and so who's relating to those younger people? Well, Ma'am Donnie was close enough to their age, being what, like 30, 31, 32, whatever Ma'am Donnie was, I think 30, which is super young.
Yeah, but I think it's more of his religion than it is his
You think people
age,
voted for him for his religion?
and him being
I think, I think
being
he's,
an immigrant, like
yeah, but
being
he's,
of color. He like was able to talk, so people were able to like actually support him.
well, didn't he rap or do some other shit too, or some,
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think it's a little bit more of a culture thing.
He is 34 though.
34.
Mhm.
But he relates to that younger culture better,
Oh yeah, I would say so.
And so just looking at that, he can, be able to speak that language. And, the people that he's talking to don't have the experience to understand that, democratic socialism. All they know about democratic socialism is whatever they got out of a textbook and a professor while they were at the university. That's what they got. They don't have any real world life experience with that, or to have been through it and seen it over the years and seen its failure over and over. What they're relating to instead is not that, but somebody that's saying that, this is going to give you the answer, and he's just more relatable in that way. And it worked. I mean, you have to at least acknowledge that what he did worked. Or if it didn't work, he wouldn't have he wouldn't have won. Somebody got mad at me yesterday because I've been on Facebook now. I've been putting more hashtags, and because my page is public, when I put the hashtags, I'll occasionally get people that comment then that aren't friends and that don't follow me, that maybe I'm just appearing on their page and, my story catches them and they comment. And I want that, if I didn't want it, I wouldn't do it. So I do that on purpose. But I made a post about Notre Dame and the CFP and everything that was going on. And I pointed out that what was done, there was a room full of old white guys. And I had a picture, a legit picture of the committee that just did this, and you know what it's a picture of?
What's up?
Old white guys. It's like a legit old white guys. You don't, and all it was is an observation. And so somebody went off or tried to go off on that and like, why does it matter that they were white? No, it doesn't matter that they were white. I'm just pointing it out that it was a bunch of old white guys. And I think, as much as I love Trump and have supported Trump, I'm not going to support another 70 plus year old for president for a while. I don't want to see. I want to see somebody in their 40s and 50s. That's what I want to see. Somebody with life experience that's good, that's in their 40s and 50s. And I think that your average voter in both parties feel that way. That we want new blood. That I'm tired of both. Look, when I pick on people in the Democrat Party that have been around for 30 plus years, I'm not just picking on them. I say the same thing about Republicans that have been around that fucking long. I don't want a Republican representing me or any area of the country that now has done it for 34 years and they're 78 years old. They can't function at all without their fucking staff, okay, and can barely function with them, right? I'm tired of it. I'm not trying to dismiss old people. I know I get shit from younger people. I feel like I get treated sometimes like I'm a 70-year-old dude. I'm not. Of course, though, I'm a lot closer to it than I want to acknowledge, and I want to be a badass 75-year-old. I want to be Sylvester Stallone, but not everybody. You don't see that. That's more rare. That's more rare, okay? Because you don't see that. That just have all their bearings and are fit or whatever. You just don't see that. And I want to have relevance when I'm older. And but we just need new blood. And I'm just tired of a bunch of old dudes, and it just happens to be old white dudes that are making all these decisions, whether it's football or whether it's in Congress. And for me, I don't have a bias of not wanting a woman. That is not a thing for me. I have no issue voting for a woman for any office if I think she's a good woman candidate. So there's nothing about gender that stops me from voting for someone, and I'm conservative, very conservative. But I will absolutely vote for a qualified woman. And I will vote for someone that I believe is qualified regardless of their race. It does not matter to me the color of their skin. That doesn't. What matters to me is what they believe. If they're conservative, I'm going to listen and see, how their conservative platform aligns with mine, and obviously vote for whatever one most closely aligns with mine. And I'm not going to vote for a Democratic candidate whose values do not align with mine. And I'm not voting with them because their values don't align with mine. I'm not casting my vote for them because of their race, or I don't care if they're Jewish. I don't even care if they're Muslim, to be honest. I care if they're more radical, if it comes out that they're part of a group or hang with people that are more radical. But I would tell you that would be the same thing if they were a Christian and they were a more radical Christian. I don't want a radical Christian or somebody who calls himself a Christian, but is a radical and that's what they profess either.
Yeah, I know. You remember. I remember you saying this earlier in the year, where you're like, I think presidents or people in office should be able to make decisions depending on religion. I honestly think that's total bogus. I feel like religion has no place in in politics. I feel like it shouldn't matter.
Well, but you can't dismiss them because of that. Their
But I feel like it,
worldview.
yes, but
Look,
I feel like that's a big thing. Like if a politician is Christian, I feel like they have a way higher chance because obviously a
mhm.
majority of America is Christian or of some sort of branch. So I think that like a lot of the things that you're
Okay,
listing off are major reasons why a lot of people will vote for something or for someone, I should say.
okay. So here's the thing:
Like
if
a
you
lot
think
of those
that,
things that you
that
listed.
then right. So if um, if I'm, if I'm a Christian,
Hmm.
I'm more likely to either be against abortion or be more for limiting abortions in some way.
See, and I feel like
You know what I mean?
there's like I feel like the government shouldn't even like that shouldn't be a conversation the government is having. Like why
No, no,
does
no, no, no. I'm saying that's just me
yeah,
personally.
yeah, yeah.
And if I feel that way and legislation comes up, how is that not going to play a role? Because that's my worldview.
Exactly. That's my point.
So we should only vote for people, or people should only be in politics that claim to have no religious
No, no,
background
no,
at
no, no.
all.
You can be whatever religion you want to be. I'm just saying I feel like the religion shouldn't be the thing making your choices.
But it shapes you like
Oh,
everything else
100%.
shapes you.
I agree, but like
Yeah.
I feel that's I guess that's why it makes it so hard. But I feel like a lot of the things that the government, especially nowadays, that we focus on the government are bullshit that we shouldn't be, as a government, a form of thing, we shouldn't be focusing on stuff like that. But I get it.
Yeah. Well, Charlie would actually give a would actually take on the abortion issue, and he could also had an argument, a pro-life argument that wasn't based on the Bible. So he did have an argument for that in taking, the religion or Christian aspect out of it. It's not something I can repeat off the top of my head, but I have heard him say it.
Yeah.
I just haven't listened to it enough times that I could repeat it, that it would make it worthwhile for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But, you got to have, I do think it is an issue. I think it's an issue that now that one of the reasons for the division is that there are the most amount of non-religious people in our country than we've ever had before. And I'm not talking about just Christian. I'm talking about any religion.
Yeah.
If you take all the people who have some type of religious affiliation that they're semi-serious about, okay? Not that they just practiced it when they were a kid, but I'm talking about people who still believe it today. And that would be Jewish, Muslim, Protestants, Catholic,
Yeah.
Christian, whatever. Putting them all together, I think, as that group is put together, is now outnumbered by people that do not believe there's a God of any type. They don't believe in any God, period. And that's where a lot, because look, if there's no God, then everything is gray. Everything is relative. And if you don't have a basis for a foundation of this is how we get to an answer, or this is how we believe what we believe. And
But if a good majority of the people, a lot of people are following rules, or that, like you said, like your beliefs, like we're following beliefs that other people don't believe. Does that make sense?
no, I
Like
don't understand.
like a lot of the things that the government or a lot of politicians or whatever will kind of like. I feel like that's why it's. I don't know what the numbers are, but I feel like that's why like you're trying to feed to the masses basically. But how do I put this into words to make it sound? I'll be honest with you, my brain's lagging back a little bit, so I can't.
It's okay.
But
You're trying.
basically, just like there's a lot of things that are done because of religion views that I feel like it makes no sense. Like I understand what you're saying, like without religion, without a God, there's no like end goal basically. But I feel like that's pretty
you
stupid.
got to use something, and if you're not using your religion, you got to use something.
Yeah.
You're using something. What determines your moral compass? What is it that's acceptable to you?
That's a whole other conversation.
But that's where
That's a
what we but that's
whole
what
other
that's
conversation.
what we get into, though. And I just think that I would rather somebody have some type of religious belief
Mhm.
than none at all.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about forcing it on them. I'm just saying
Yeah, no, just
to have it
having
because it's
faith in something. Yeah,
okay, but like um to some degree, it's that belief that keeps us civil.
it's 100% what it is.
Okay, so that if you don't have that kind of belief, then it's okay to do anything to anyone. And that goes even for me. If I didn't have that belief, then if I didn't think there were certain consequences
Yeah,
from my actions, dude, I would be the most horrible person on the planet
I agree.
because I would be a monster.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah,
I just truly, from my research in religion and stuff like that, a lot of religions are just made up bullshit. And again, I'm not gonna hate on anyone's religion or fight anyone's religion or blah 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 blah. Just from personal, like reading different religions and different scriptures and how much things have been rewritten and changed and moved this. It's just really hard to really follow a religion that I believe is pretty made up basically, and that goes for a lot of religions, not just Christianity and like stuff like that. Like a lot of
hmm
religions follow that same kind of pattern where, again, throw my conspiracy hat on.
no,
A lot of religions were made to control people.
and I don't. I think it does help control, and we
It
need
does the controlling.
and we do need some kind of control.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Yeah. So my thing is that I can just tell you myself, what you're going through is absolutely normal.
Yeah,
It's just normal to question, to try to understand. It's even being suggested, that Charlie had his beliefs, but he was also questioning, and
I feel like if
he
you're
wasn't.
not questioning, if you're in a like again same thing, you can
Mhm,
be Christian, Catholic, Muslim, whatever, et
mhm.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's super important to even if you aren't gonna not even if you're gonna not stop believing in it. I think it is super important to be within your religion and question what it is. I feel like that's part of learning or being really attuned to your religion is being like, hey, is this true?
Mhm.
Is this not? And then whether or not you truly believe it, then you have even
Right.
more faith behind whatever religion it is.
Well, just my own journey, it started when I was about 16 and a half, something like that, about 16 and a half, when I started going out searching on my own, separate from my parents.
Mhm.
That, my parents had raised me as Lutheran, and then we were United Church of Christ. And, I decided I wanted to go back to church. My parents weren't regular churchgoers, but they wanted us to have that background when we were young and, through junior high to go through, certain classes. They call it confirmation.
Yep.
They call it something
Every
different for
Wednesday.
Catholics.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, in doing that, and I didn't. We all complained about it as young kids, but it wasn't that terrible of a thing to
Oh
have
no,
gone
ours
through.
was shit.
Yeah, yours
It was
was.
fucking it
Yeah,
was shit. I'll be honest with you, but I don't know
yeah,
if that's a Catholic thing though.
yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
because I just know about ours, and um, but then when I decided I wanted to go, I wanted more, and I decided that on my own. I went back there first because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was reading on my own,
Mhm.
and I had questions, and then what I was hearing from the pulpit didn't really align with what I was reading. And it's not that I was an expert or anything at the time, but certain parts of it, I was pretty smart, and I can figure shit out. Like what this person's saying is, yeah, like kind of bullshit. When look, I read this and this is what it says or whatever. And I felt like it was light, that it was a pastor giving a message that was just that wasn't going to offend anyone. Just this nice little wholesome message: be good to each other, be good to your neighbor. Like, I don't know, that it wasn't really there was no meat on the bone with what the message that the person gave.
Mhm.
And so I tried to look for that, and I went to all different kinds of churches, and to see what which one felt right to me. And then the problem with that is people, that you're trusting or believing in people, and we all have faults. We all have shortcomings. We are all sinners. We all fall short of the glory of God. You right? So sometimes or I know I did. You know, I I moved away or didn't. I moved away from something or a certain church because of a person, not because of the church itself. But to me, that person represented the church, and they made such a poor representation that it just turned me off, kind of a thing. But I've learned more. I've grown more since then. We're not all we're not all the same. We're all aren't going to get the same thing from every message, and you shouldn't expect to be. For me, mostly, I like Christian non-denominational churches now that that do really talk about real um, biblical values in life, and so that's what I've come to. Now I've had other people, or known other people that ended up different places.
Mhm.
Like I said, there was a question that maybe Charlie was exploring Catholicism a little bit, and I had a friend, that he did that, and he decided that's what was right for him, and as an adult, not as a kid, but as an adult, went through the process to legitimately become a Catholic and go through a process, not just say I'm showing up at a Catholic church, but to really be a true member
Yeah.
of the church. And he had a good argument for it, as kind of being the first, real Christian church, so to speak,
Okay.
So and he like, why wouldn't you follow that then? And that made sense to him. But again, it does keep people from the whole world being totally out of control, you know. And when you didn't have that, people did make up other shit. When you have
I mean,
you,
people still make up a lot of shit. There's
yeah,
so
but
many
I'm
different
talking about like,
religions and
yeah, I'm
no, people still make up
certainly,
religions, by the way.
yeah, but I'm talking about 1,000 years ago, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. When people were well, like the Vikings or whatever we see with the Vikings and the Nordic gods, and sacrificing people, or maybe people in South America that had religions, and I don't know. Maybe I watch too much movies and TVs throwing people in volcanoes and giving a sacrifice to the fire god. I don't know, but I'm talking about making it up like that kind
Like
of made
Christianity.
up. What?
No, I'm just
No. No, I'm putting Christianity in the same place I'm putting, um, you know, the same place that I'm putting Islam and,
so,
that kind of thing.
okay, so, but why?
What's that?
But why is the cultural and religion of the Vikings not as important as
No, but I'm
Christianity?
saying, I'm not saying it's not as important, um, but because they believe that, even though it was made up or whatever, even though it was made up, it still kept them under a certain amount of control. So that's
Gotcha.
that's where there was a good part to it.
Hmm.
Like, to me, That's why I said I would rather have somebody believe in that than not believe anything at all, than to believe that it's just nothing. And for me, I can't get my arms around the concept of nothing, that it's all a big accident. You know, that's just not a concept I've been able to wrap my head around. So that's just me. But I didn't expect to go. We were talking about money, man. But I appreciate that. I do. Uh, I think things swing, a certain way, and eventually, whatever way they're swinging, it goes too far, and that works in both directions. And then we have to work our way back to some kind of middle. I hope that we can do that here. I don't see it yet. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I hope that
I
we
think this
can.
another civil war will be the real way that the U.S. gets their shit together. As awful as it sounds,
Yeah.
I honestly, on like from everything I see and read and the things that I can see, I think we're heading definitely more towards some sort of civil, uh, kind of conflict, like
Hmm.
internal conflict and an actual resolution. Unfortunately,
Look, I don't disagree with that because it's really, really hard to be on social media, and there's good and bad about social media, and you have to take it for what it is, but it does allow people to sit behind a device and say things and act a certain way that they wouldn't always act like in person, in real life, because there's no consequences for doing that. And seeing how they feel about us and knowing how I feel about them, that probably entrenches me more on my positions than it otherwise would. Just like, because there's just like no coming together. None. There is no wanting to even. It's, you're a pedophile, you fuck kids, you support a pedophile, you support a rapist, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist. I mean, it's all of the worst labels that anyone can try to come up with or think of. And I believe, for at least personally, that everything that they call us and call me are things that they are, because that's the evidence that I've seen. But they truly feel that way about us. And there's no compromising with a Nazi. There's none. So if that's the case, then why even reach out and compromise? It's that you want to defeat that side. And that's where I'm at. I want to defeat that side. Now, right now, I've been okay with wanting to defeat that side at the ballot box. But there could come a time when it goes beyond the ballot box. And we've at least seen inklings of it, if that's the word we want to use, of that happening. But things are I wonder this, though. Let me ask you this.
go for it.
The younger people that voted,
Mm-hmm.
if they've become disenchanted, are they going to flip to the other side, or are they going to go back to not being involved and just not vote at all?
Um, Great question. I don't know. I think they're more likely to just flip back and forth to whoever they just because like the whole politics stuff became more of a trend now, so people are more involved because it Social media. Social media is the
Yeah,
only
for sure.
the only reason we have the younger generation even voting more than they are. I mean, you have a handful of younger people that are actually care about the country
Right.
and like politics here and there and there and
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a majority of them would just flip flop to whoever whatever whoever has the most clout or whoever has the most kind of like thing to that. But I definitely do think there's a good portion of people that just, including me, that just kind of gave up on
Yeah.
even voting left, right, center. Like it's just one of
Here's
those
the
things that
thing,
really.
though, that to me it hurts the Republicans either way.
Mm-hmm,
If they flip, it hurts the Republicans,
mm-hmm.
and it also hurts the Republicans if they do nothing.
The thing is that it's no longer a Republican Democrat thing, right? Those are the two options we have. So those are the two options people go back and forth from.
Yeah.
But it's the person that's representing each side. It hasn't. I think it has almost nothing to do with Republican or Democrat, because obviously you were able to see that a majority of people will vote Republican. They will vote for a Republican president. But if they're giving the people what they're promising, right? The only reason Trump was able to get those high numbers and all these big different switches on
Mhm.
the immigrant side or the
Yeah.
male side, blah 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 blah, is because him and his administration were promising a lot of things people wanted.
Yeah.
So I don't think it has anything to do with the Democrat. I think that's another huge thing that the U.S.
Right.
needs to
But
figure out.
even
The whole
though they
Democrat
don't care
Republican.
about the Republican Democrat, I'm talking about what the effect is going to be on the party.
Again, it all depending on what they
But
put in front of that.
and that
TV
can
screen.
be true too, because we saw differences between, that people who supported Trump
Mhm.
didn't always support other Republicans down the ticket.
Exactly. Again, all depending on who is in front of that camera. It's more of a clout thing now than it is whether or not it's going to be better for the country. If you put someone in front of them and they're able to speak the way they're able to speak,
Mhm.
and not actually say what they're going to get, like be very broad, be
Right.
very charismatic and stuff like that, then it will not matter. It's all about the
And-
image you're putting in front of the
Yeah,
screen.
and I don't disagree with that, because for someone older
Hmm.
and the older people that have run for president,
It's been the same thing.
but nobody has been better at social media of the older people
Hmm.
than Trump.
Yeah,
and
but
what he
that's-
did. No, but I'm saying, let me finish.
Yeah.
But then for these other political positions
Mhm.
and stuff, I feel like there's not a lot of conservatives that are as good at the social media, like Mamdani, like even Jasmine Crockett, or
and guess what?
they're-
Those are the
they're-
ones that
Yeah,
did
that's what I'm
well
saying.
because they're able to
Yes.
manipulate the social media. So it's
I think
no longer
younger, they're better at social media.
Mhm.
But of the older group that was vying, because the minimum age to be president is 40, I believe, or 40 or 45.
I think you're right.
Yeah, that of the older people, that nobody worked social media as good as Trump. Of the older people who were competing against other older people.
Yeah.
But I don't see very many. Nick Freitas, he's one that's pretty good, but he's probably between 40 and 50.
35 actually.
Who?
Sorry, the minimum to be president is 35.
Is it really?
I thought it was much higher
Dude,
than
I
that.
thought it was higher than that. But who's the youngest person to ever become president? Is that Kennedy?
Just didn't type half of my shit. Theodore Roosevelt.
Theodore
Jesus Christ.
Roosevelt,
42 years old.
42.
Oh,
All right.
and
And then Kennedy?
then Kennedy at 43.
Wow. Yeah, that's why I thought it was 40.
Oh, okay. So Roosevelt was at 42, but then was taken office. Oh, because McKinley was assassinated. Correct. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. John F. Kennedy was elected, the youngest elected.
Elected.
Correct.
Right. That's interesting.
Reading helps a little
Okay.
bit.
It does. It does. Yeah. But I do think people in general are more ready to see more 30 to 50-year-olds.
It should.
And then
That
that,
should have always been a thing. I feel because that, like, to go back to that point, like the older you get, the more of your old ways you are stuck on.
yeah,
right?
everybody's not like me.
So like a lot of people are not going to be changing their, and that's a huge problem the U.S. has had, is that they allow these older people to just stick around and keep the old, like,
Yeah. I believe in term limits.
I believe in a lot of things need to change.
Yeah.
A
But
lot of
that's
things.
just something hard to get past.
And I don't think it will happen. It's just, I don't know. I have my mindset that this government has its agenda, and it's not gonna, you know, give the people what they truly want. They'll give them here and there what here and there, but nah. To say a world power, you gotta have power. And you can't have power if you're giving it all to the people. It's just not how. It's not gonna how. Unfortunately, it's just not how it works.
No,
It's
it's not how it works.
Ah.
So I don't know if we answered the affordability question, did we?
No, I don't think
We didn't.
I did. I was looking it up on the side, and no, it's still expensive.
It is still
The prices.
that's-
So
and the bad thing was making a promise about it.
I think that's what it was. I like, honestly, that's the biggest reason why a lot of people have turned on Trump, because that was the thing, right? Like, his character is one thing, but what he was promising was another thing. And I think that's what a lot of people were really falling in love with, whether they liked Trump or not. It was more of what he was promising, what the administration was promising. And I mean, a year in, and a lot of people were like, like,
It's just not enough.
it
It
really isn't.
doesn't match what was said.
What was said, exactly.
And that's why you have to be careful of over promising and under delivering. You know, I would rather under promise and over deliver
100%.
all day long.
100%.
And he should know that, being a salesman.
Yeah,
You know,
but I
it's the
think-
best way
but
to go about
he
it.
was pinned in a corner with already not having having so much hate.
Yeah.
He had, I think that was his only game plan, was to over deliver, because under delivering.
And
I don't think it
honestly,
would've
I
worked
believe
for
he
him.
really wants to.
Oh,
But
for sure. But his actual ability to do
but
so.
the ability to do so, once you, just like that's what's going to happen to Mamdani too.
Exactly.
He's made all these crazy promises, but he's going to hit a wall.
Yeah.
And how he handles that wall, and it's hard to handle it once you've already put it out there.
I agree.
You know, that's going to be tough.
I'm
if
actually
he's
really
done the same thing.
interested to see where, because Mamdani, to me, early, again, not super like in the politics scene, like here and there. I'm actually really
you're only in it because I drug you here.
100%. I'm actually kind of interested to see how he does, because from my perspective, it seems like Mamdani it was more of like a people vote kind of thing, very, very clout sided kind of thing. But it is a really big state, but I think, or is it
He's
mayor,
just the
right?
city.
Just
He's
city
mayor.
Okay, so mayor, I feel like he won't struggle as much. I really don't think so, because especially in New York, my people and stuff like that, I think he has a good amount of people around him that he actually won't struggle as much as someone like Trump, who has a lot of people trying like against him. I feel like Mamdani, especially in that area, has a lot of support, and it's going to continue to get a lot of support from people.
I think he's going to
other
have to. I
officials.
think he's going to have to blame the state government and the federal government.
Like when some sort of issue comes up.
That the reason he's not able to get it done is because of those two things.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I can see that.
You know,
I
where
can see that happening.
Trump tries to lay the blame at Biden
Yeah.
and says, I'm trying to fix what Biden messed up.
Yeah.
Mamdani's going to say, I want to do this,
But they won't let me.
but they won't let me.
That's fair. I could see that.
You know what I mean?
I can see that.
That's kind of what I see. And then, so how much are people going to buy that buy that excuse? And
How what is the term length for a mayor? Do you know? Off the top of your
I
head?
think mayor's just 4 years. They do mayor every 4
Every
years.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that's really like every 6 years is senator, U.S. senator. Now, I don't even know state senator, what it is for state senators, if it's similar to what it is for U.S. senator. But like, state senator of Arizona, I don't know how long their term is actually. But I think it's
Uh,
Four.
Arizona's 4-term, 8-year Arizona legislation. So you get two years per term. Is that how it
For
works? For senator, state senator.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know. But like representative is every 2 years. So you're saying state senator, they can do up to 4 2-year terms.
Correct.
For a total
in
of 8.
Arizona. Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Michigan has 12 combined years.
Yeah, every state is going to
state.
be different on that for sure. But that's like, you
would love to see some like set in stone kind of things.
Here's
that,
the thing, man.
I guess it is so different depending on where you go around like every state.
I don't know if this is a good comparison or not, but I'm going to throw it out there.
Okay.
When my daughter wanted to play soccer, okay, she played soccer. She was like really too young to even play.
Okay. But
we put her on a team in another small town, and she did good, And then I wasn't a coach, but I helped out.
I get you.
So then when we were going to do soccer in our own area, I coached and had a team.
Yeah.
And this is just fun soccer. This is just co-ed, fun soccer. Kids play, like, it's the very beginning of soccer.
Yeah.
And then we did well. Our team actually won the league, and they paid for us to go down to a state tournament and just all these other things that happened. And then, the kids really enjoyed it and wanted to stay and play together. So I took that same team and started playing with them indoor soccer. Indoor soccer is big up there. Okay.
It's big out here too.
Yeah.
You gotta love some indoor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we did that. And so then what is it for, travel soccer? We started looking at travel soccer.
Okay.
And I went to the organization that ran the basic soccer league, right?
Okay.
And tried to get them to be supportive of putting together something for kids that wanted a little bit more or wanted to take it more serious.
Okay.
So on their form that they had that would go out to parents, they put, if you're interested in select soccer, check here. Dude, nobody knew what select soccer meant.
They're not checking them.
They didn't check that. They had no interest in doing that. And here's the thing. These were all a bunch of goody two-shoe parents. Everybody, deserves a medal kind of parents. Yeah. And these were parents that were nerds when they were in school. Mm-hmm. They were not athletes when they were in school. But now here they get to have this power and authority over this league. You know what I mean? And, shouldn't even keep score and that kind of people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. It was like that. And that's kind of how I saw the whole thing. Is that you just get you don't get like really good people. Mm-hmm. You don't get really good people because people like me, we're busy. I was busy building a business. It was a big deal for me to take time and work my schedule around, coaching more than one team even. I would coach several teams and doing that. And then, being part of a league is something even more than that. But somebody's got to do it. And I just feel that's what we end up with when we see that crazy lady. Remember that crazy lady that that wants to run for governor of California? That was, get out of my scene, get out of from behind. They were yelling at the person, her staff behind her, and it was all crazy. And
I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah, you did. You put it up on the
show?
Screen for me. Yeah, we did it. We talked about it. Yeah. Because she said some other crazy stuff. She had an interview where she was an asshole and got up from the interview. Yeah. But she's running. But she's like a state senator or, state representative now.
Katie Porter?
Yeah, her. Dude, she's a nut job. You know what I mean? But Katie Porter is that person that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She's the one that never did anything, doesn't have any experience, but she's going to come in and tell people how to do it. Bitch, you've never created a business or a job ever in your life. but you're going to have authority over what businesses can and can't do because you know the answer. Like bull fucking
That
shit.
you read on Google somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just, I wonder too, how many of these ADs and stuff that were this old men's group that were a part of the college football playoff committee, how many of them, what level did you play to? I'm not saying it really matters, but it kind of matters.